6 weeks from tonight, Elena Hart would stand in an abandoned warehouse with a gun trembling in her hands. The weapon would feel impossibly heavy. Cold metal pressed against skin that had spent 12 years healing people instead of hurting them. Across from her, Detective Garrett Whitmore would kneel on concrete stained dark with old blood and fresh fear, his face a twisted mask of rage and desperation. Behind her, a 6-year-old girl named Lucia would crouch in the shadows, small hands pressed over her mouth to keep from crying out. In that moment, with her finger resting against the trigger and 27 years of pain screaming for release, Elena would face a choice that would define everything she'd become. Good people don't point guns at men begging for mercy, but good people also don't let monsters walk free. And Garrett Whitmore was a monster wearing a badge, hiding behind a system that had protected him while he destroyed her. The warehouse lights would flicker overhead. Lucia would whisper her name, small and terrified. And Elena would have to decide who she wanted to be, victim or survivor, healer or killer, the woman she'd been or the woman she was becoming. But tonight, 6 weeks before that defining moment, Elena Hart was just an exhausted nurse driving home after 16 hours in an emergency room. Tonight, she still believed the world had clear lines between right and wrong. Tonight, she thought the hardest choices were already behind her. Tonight, she drove down Pacific Coast Highway and believed she understood what sacrifice meant. She had no idea how wrong she was about everything. The road stretched black and empty before her, ocean on one side and cliffs on the other. Elena kept both hands locked at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, fighting exhaustion that pulled at her eyelids like weights. The digital clock read 11:43. Her shift had started at 6 that morning. 18 hours, 3 cardiac arrests, a teenage overdose who'd coded twice, a 4-year-old with third-degree burns covering half her small body, and a woman with a broken jaw who'd sworn she'd fallen downstairs, even though the X-rays told a different story. Everyone lies in the emergency room. Elena had learned that truth in her first week at St. Catherine's Hospital 12 years ago. Patients lie about their symptoms. Families lie about how injuries happened. The abused lie to protect their abusers. The only truth comes written in blood work and bone fractures, in the evidence that bodies carry, whether mouths speak it or not. The envelope on her passenger seat caught streetlight as she passed under a lamp. Student loan statement. She didn't need to open it to know the number. $18,412. The amount never seemed to shrink, no matter how many double shifts she worked. Pre-med for 3 years before her mother's cancer had forced a choice. Finish medical school or keep her mother alive for 2 more years. Elena had chosen her mother, would make the same choice again. Those 2 years of coherent conversations and shared meals and whispered "I love yous" in a hospice room had been worth every dollar of debt. The photo, taped to her dashboard, showed a gap-toothed 12-year-old girl holding a spelling bee trophy. Maya, 10 years gone, a decade since the gang shooting that had turned Elena's baby sister into another statistic in a city that produced them like a factory. Wrong place, wrong time. That's what the detective had said. Detective Whitmore. He'd been kind then, Elena remembered, patient with her grief. He'd promised to find who was responsible. The case had gone cold within 6 months. Maya became another file in a drawer somewhere. Another unsolved tragedy. Another dead child who didn't matter enough. Elena blinked hard against tears that still came after 10 years. She wouldn't cry while driving, wouldn't cry alone. Tears changed nothing. She'd learned that lesson young and hard. The Mercedes appeared suddenly in her rearview mirror, headlights blazing bright enough to make her squint, black paint gleaming, moving fast, too fast for these curves. The kind of car that cost more than Elena would earn in 5 years. She eased right, giving it room to pass. Rich people always drove like they owned every road. But the Mercedes didn't pass. It pulled alongside her, matching her speed exactly. Elena glanced over. Tinted windows. No view of the driver. Something cold touched the base of her spine. Instinct. The same instinct that had learned to read Garrett's moods before his fists flew. The Mercedes swerved into her lane. Hard. Deliberate. Elena jerked right. Her tires caught gravel. The Honda shuddered. The Mercedes corrected, pulled back. For one breath, Elena thought it had been an accident. A drunk driver. Someone texting. Then it swerved again. This time, there was no question. This was intentional. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She accelerated. The Honda's engine whined in protest. 50, 60, 70. The Mercedes kept pace effortlessly. Then it pulled ahead, cut across her lane, and brake lights flared red. Elena hit her brakes. Not enough time, not enough distance. She saw it happening in the strange, slow motion of crisis. The Mercedes spinning. Her Honda, unable to stop. The moment of impact that never came because the Mercedes was already gone. Already over the cliff edge. Already falling into darkness. She fishtailed to a stop. Her hands locked white-knuckled on the wheel. Her breath came in gasps that fogged the windshield. For 5 seconds, maybe 10, she just sat there, mind blank, body frozen. Then training overrode shock. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers, dialed 911, told them there'd been an accident, gave them her location. Then she grabbed the emergency medical kit from her back seat and opened her door. The cliff was steep, loose rock and scrub brush. Her phone's flashlight showed the Mercedes 40 feet down, crumpled against a shelf of rock. The front end was crushed inward. The windshield was a spider web of cracks. An orange light flickered under the hood. Fire, already spreading. Elena started down. Her sneakers slipped on loose stone. She caught herself on a twisted bush, kept moving. Every rational thought in her head screamed to stop, to wait for fire department, to not risk her life for someone who just tried to run her off the road. But Maya's face filled her mind, 12 years old, bleeding out on a sidewalk while people walked past. While someone could have helped and didn't, never again. That was the promise Elena had carved into her soul. Never again would she be the person who walked past someone dying. The heat hit her face like a slap when she reached the car. Flames crawled along metal and plastic, feeding on gasoline and oil. The smell was chemical and wrong. Elena pulled her jacket over her mouth and nose. The driver's side door was completely crushed, impassable. She ran to the passenger side. The door was dented, but the handle turned. She yanked it open. Smoke poured out, thick and choking. She crawled inside. The man was slumped over the steering wheel. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. His face was turned away. Elena couldn't see if he was breathing. She pressed 2 fingers to his carotid artery. There, faint but present. Pulse. Her trauma shears cut through his seatbelt in 3 quick strokes. The heavy-duty blades were designed for exactly this. The belt fell away. Now came the hard part. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, heavy, dead weight. Elena hooked her arms under his shoulders and pulled. He didn't budge. She braced her feet against the center console and pulled harder. An inch, 2 inches. The smoke was getting thicker. Her eyes streamed. Her lungs burned. Come on, come on. She pulled again. He shifted, slid toward her. She adjusted her grip and pulled once more. His upper body came free of the steering wheel. She backed out of the car, dragging him with her. Every muscle in her body screamed. Her back protested. She ignored everything except the need to get him out. Get him away. Get him safe. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. The heat followed them like a living thing. She could hear the fire crackling, growing, consuming. 40 feet. Her legs gave out. She fell backward. His weight came down on top of her. They hit the ground hard. Elena rolled him off and scrambled to cover him with her own body. The gas tank exploded. The blast wave slammed into them like a physical wall. Heat and pressure and sound so loud it erased thought. Burning debris rained down. Elena pressed herself flat against the man. Felt something hot graze her back. Smelled melting fabric. Then silence. Relative silence. The fire still burned, but the explosion was over. Elena stayed where she was. Her heart hammered so hard, she thought her ribs might crack. Under her, the man's chest rose and fell. Still breathing, still alive. She'd done it. Saved him. Whoever he was. She pushed herself up, looked down at the face she'd risked everything to save. Mid to late 30s. Dark hair graying at the temples. Sharp features. Expensive suit. Torn and blood-stained now. A faded scar ran along his chin. On his wrist, visible beneath a torn sleeve, she caught a glimpse of a tattoo. A double-headed eagle. His eyes opened. Gray, storm gray. They struggled to focus. Confusion and pain written in equal measure. When they finally found her face, they stopped searching. You. His voice was barely a whisper. Rough. You pulled me out. Elena nodded. You were dying. His eyes searched hers, looking for something. Motive, maybe. Agenda. Then his hand moved, slow and uncoordinated, reaching for his jacket pocket. Easy. Elena caught his wrist gently. You've been in an accident. Don't move too much. Not accident. The words came out slurred. Too quiet. His eyes were already losing focus. Vincent did this. Vincent betrayed. Warehouse. Lucia. Keep Lucia safe. Keep her. His eyes closed. His hand went limp. For one terrible moment, Elena thought he'd stopped breathing. Then she felt the pulse in his wrist. Still there, just unconscious. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Help was coming. Elena looked down at the man she'd saved, at the expensive suit and the tattoo, and the face that held too many hard angles to be traditionally handsome. Something cold settled in her chest, a premonition, an understanding that this moment had just changed everything. Who are you? She whispered to the unconscious man. He didn't answer, couldn't answer. But somewhere, in the growing wail of approaching sirens, Elena Hart felt the last piece of her old life slip away. She didn't know yet that she'd just saved a monster. Didn't know that monsters always paid their debts. Didn't know that 6 weeks from now, she'd be holding a gun and making the hardest choice of her life. All she knew was that a stranger had whispered a name and a warning. Vincent, Lucia, keep her safe. And Elena, who'd spent her whole life trying to save everyone, had just stepped into something darker and more dangerous than any emergency room had ever prepared her for. St. Catherine's emergency room at 2 a.m. was controlled chaos that Elena knew like breathing. Fluorescent lights, too bright. The smell of disinfectant layered over blood and fear. Constant movement of medical staff. The symphony of monitors beeping and voices calling, and underneath it all, the steady current of human suffering that never stopped flowing through these doors. She'd called it in from the cliff. The ambulance had been there when she'd finished her statement to the highway patrol officer. They'd loaded the man onto a gurney, started an IV, strapped him down. Elena had ridden with them. Not because she had to, because walking away felt wrong, dangerous, like abandoning a patient mid-code. Now she stood outside Trauma Bay 3, watching through the window as the team worked. Dr. Martinez was running the code. Good hands, fast decisions. Elena had worked with her for 7 years, trusted her completely. Rachel appeared at her elbow with 2 cups of coffee. She offered one to Elena without a word. "You look like hell." Rachel's voice was gentle, concerned. "Thanks." Elena took the coffee. Let the heat of it warm her hands. "I'm fine." Rachel stared through the window at the man on the table, at the expensive suit they were cutting away, at the tattoo now fully visible on his wrist, the double-headed eagle. Her face went pale. "Elena, do you know who that is?" Elena shook her head. "That's Dylan Castellano." Rachel's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "The Castellano family. They've run organized crime in Los Angeles for 40 years. The coffee cup stopped halfway to Elena's mouth. "What?" Rachel nodded toward the window. "You just saved a Mafia boss. One of the most dangerous men in California." The words didn't process at first. Elena looked at the man on the table. Dylan Castellano. She'd breathed smoke for him, covered him with her own body, pulled him from fire, and he was a criminal, a gangster, the kind of man who probably had people killed with a phone call. Maya's face flashed through her memory. 12 years old, dead in a gang shooting. Elena's hands tightened on the coffee cup until the cardboard crumpled. "Does he have family?" Her voice came out steady. "Professional. Someone we should call?" "I don't know." Rachel shrugged. "I just know his reputation. Everyone in the city does. Real estate, casinos, shipping, and other things nobody talks about in polite company." Elena watched through the window. Dr. Martinez was checking pupils now. Responsive. Good. The bleeding had stopped. Vitals were stabilizing. He'd live. Probably be out of here in a few days. "I need to go home." Elena turned from the window. "Change clothes. Write my report." "You're not on shift." Rachel frowned. "You can file the report tomorrow." "I know," but Elena needed to move. To do something. To not stand here thinking about what she'd just done. "I'll feel better if I finish it tonight." She was halfway to the exit when Rachel called after her. "Elena, be careful. Men like that don't forget, whether you helped them or not." Elena kept walking, pushed through the emergency room doors into cool night air. Her hands were shaking again. She looked down at them, at the cuts from broken glass, at the soot ground into her skin, at the hands that had pulled a Mafia boss from a burning car, because that's what she did. She saved lives. She didn't get to choose which ones were worth saving. Except, now, she had a feeling that choice was going to find her, whether she wanted it or not. A hand closed around her upper arm, firm, familiar, wrong. Elena spun. Her heart jumped into her throat. Then she saw the uniform. Police. For half a second, relief. Then she saw the face. Blue eyes, square jaw, smile that didn't reach those ice chip eyes. Garrett. Her ex-husband stood there in full uniform, badge gleaming under the parking lot lights. He smiled. That particular smile, the one that had always come before violence. Elena. His grip tightened. Just enough. Just like always. Just enough to hurt without leaving marks. "We need to talk about the accident you witnessed tonight." "Let go of me." Elena kept her voice level. Calm, never show fear. That lesson had been beaten into her over 4 years of marriage. He released her, eventually, slowly, making it clear the choice was his, not hers. He pulled out a notebook, all official now, all professional, like they were strangers, like he hadn't broken her wrist for coming home late from a shift. I'm investigating the incident on Pacific Coast Highway. Did the victim say anything before he lost consciousness? Elena met his eyes, those cold blue eyes she'd once thought were beautiful. No, he was unconscious when I reached him. Garrett studied her face. That look, the one that said he knew she was lying, the one that had always come before his voice got quiet and his hands got loud. You're sure? Because this is important, Elena. This man is dangerous, connected. If he said anything about who caused the accident, I need to know. He said nothing. Elena didn't blink, didn't look away. I pulled him out, waited for the ambulance. That's all. Silence stretched between them. Garrett's jaw worked. She could see him calculating. Believe her. Push harder. Walk away. She knew all his tells. 4 years of marriage. 18 months of freedom. Not nearly enough time to forget. Fine. He closed the notebook. But if you remember anything at all, you call me. His voice dropped. You still have my number, don't you? It wasn't a question. Elena nodded anyway. Good. He stepped closer. Close enough that she smelled coffee and cigarettes on his breath. Close enough that her body remembered how to go still, how to make herself small, how to breathe shallow and wait for the storm to pass. I worry about you, Elena. Working these late shifts, driving home alone. This isn't a safe city. Anything could happen. The threat hung between them. Gentle, almost loving, the way he'd always wrapped violence in concern, coded control and care. I can take care of myself. Elena forced herself to hold his gaze. Can you? His hand came up. She didn't flinch. Wouldn't give him that satisfaction. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Tender, possessive. Because I remember a time when you needed me to protect you, when you couldn't survive without me. I never needed that. The words escaped before she could stop them. Sharp, true. Garrett's smile went cold. His hand moved from her hair to her jaw, gripping. Not hard enough to leave a visible mark. Never hard enough for that. You left me. Filed papers. Got your restraining order. Thought that made you safe. But you know what I think? Elena didn't answer. Couldn't with his thumb pressing into her jaw. I think you're still mine. I think that paper was just paper. I think you'll always be mine. No matter who else you try to hide behind. He released her, stepped back, put his hands in his pockets like they'd just had a pleasant conversation, like he hadn't just made it crystal clear that divorce changed nothing. Take care, Elena. He started toward his patrol car. And remember what I said. You see something, you call me. I'm the only one who can really protect you in this city. Elena watched him drive away. Only when his taillights disappeared did she let herself shake, let herself bend at the waist, and breathe through the nausea. 3 years since she'd escaped that marriage. 18 months since the divorce was final. And 5 minutes in his presence had dragged her right back, small and scared and trapped. Her phone buzzed. Text from the hospital. Patient in trauma, 3 was awake and asking for the woman who'd pulled him out. Elena looked at her car, then back at the hospital. She should go home, should shower and sleep and forget this entire night, should stay far away from Dylan Castellano and whatever world he inhabited. But Garrett's words echoed in her mind. This man is dangerous, connected, and Dylan's words too. Not accident. Vincent betrayed me. Keep Lucia safe. Someone had tried to kill Dylan Castellano. Garrett was investigating. Garrett, who just made it very clear he still considered Elena his property. What were the odds that the investigating officer was her abusive ex-husband? What were the odds this was all coincidence? Elena started walking, not toward her car, toward the hospital, because she'd stopped believing in coincidence the first time Garrett had hit her, and then sworn it would never happen again. Room 412 was dark, except for the monitors casting green light across Dylan Castellano's face. He wasn't sleeping. Elena could tell from his breathing, from the tension in his shoulders. He was waiting. She knocked softly on the doorframe. His eyes opened immediately. Found her in the doorway. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition. Relief, maybe. Or calculation. "You came." His voice was stronger now, the morphine wearing off. "You asked for me." Elena stayed in the doorway, keeping distance, maintaining professional boundaries. "I wasn't sure why." "Sit, please." He gestured to the chair beside his bed, winced at the movement. Cracked ribs at minimum, maybe broken. Elena hesitated, then stepped inside, closed the door, sat, kept her hands visible in her lap, non-threatening, open, the same way she approached any patient who might be dangerous. "You saved my life." Dylan watched her with those sharp gray eyes. "Why?" "It's what I do." Elena's voice was steady. "I'm a nurse. You didn't know that when you climbed down that cliff. When you pulled me from fire, you risked your life for a stranger." "Why?" "Because my sister." The words came out before Elena could stop them. She was 12. Gang shooting. She bled out on a sidewalk while people walked past. Nobody helped. Nobody stopped. I promised myself. Never again. Understanding flickered in Dylan's eyes. "I'm sorry about your sister." Elena said nothing. Sorry was just a word. It meant nothing. "The detective who questioned you?" Dylan's tone shifted. Careful. Probing. "Garrett Whitmore. You know him. Not a question." Elena's spine stiffened. "That's none of your business. He's your ex-husband. Divorced 18 months ago. Restraining order filed, and then mysteriously dropped after pressure from the police union. Medical records from 3 years ago show a broken wrist. His police report claimed you fell downstairs. How do you know that?" Elena's voice went very quiet. "Dangerous." "I know everything about you now, Elena Hart." Dylan's expression didn't change. 27 years old. ER nurse at St. Catherine's. 12 years experience. Dropped out of pre-med to care for your dying mother. Student loans total $18,000. One sister deceased. Maya Hart, age 12. Killed in gang shooting 10 years ago. Another sister, Avery Hart, age 24, struggling with addiction. Borrowed $30,000 from a loan shark 4 months ago. Elena's hands clenched in her lap. "You had no right." "I had every right." Dylan shifted in the bed, grimaced. "Someone just tried to kill me. You're the only witness. I need to know who you are, what you want, whether you're a threat." "I saved your life." Elena's voice rose. "That's the opposite of a threat." "No." Dylan's eyes locked on hers. "That's how debts work. And I always pay my debts." The door burst open. Elena jumped. A massive man entered, hand inside his jacket. On a weapon. His eyes swept the room, landed on Elena, assessed her as a threat in half a second. "Marco." Dylan's voice cut through the tension. "Lower your weapon. She's not a threat." The man, Marco, studied Elena with cold eyes, slowly removed his hand from his jacket, stepped to the side, still ready, still watching. "This is Marco Donovan." Dylan gestured. "My head of security. He's protective. Your bodyguard almost pulled a gun on me." Elena's heart was still racing. "If he'd wanted to shoot you, you'd be dead already." Dylan said it matter-of-factly. No ego, just truth. Marco never misses. Elena stood. "This was a mistake. I should go. Sit. Dylan's voice hardened. Command, not request. Elena stayed standing. You don't give me orders. A ghost of a smile crossed Dylan's face. You're right. I don't. I'm asking. Please sit. 5 more minutes. Then you can walk away and never see me again, if that's what you want. Against her better judgment, Elena sat. 5 minutes. Your sister, Avery. Dylan folded his hands carefully. The 30,000 she borrowed. Do you know who she borrowed it from? Elena's blood went cold. No. Vincent Cross. Dylan watched her face. He was my business partner, my second in command, until I discovered he'd been embezzling from me for 2 years. $5 million. When I confronted him, he ran, took the money, and everyone who owed him money. Your sister is one of those people. Dylan leaned forward slightly, which means Vincent has leverage over you. And when he realizes you're the woman who saved me, he'll use that leverage. You don't know that. Elena heard the uncertainty in her own voice. I know Vincent. Dylan's voice was absolute. He's thorough, methodical. He'll find out you pulled me from that car. He'll find out about Avery. And he'll use both to get to me. How? Because witnesses are liabilities. You heard me say his name, didn't you? When I was barely conscious. I said, Vincent betrayed me. Elena's silence confirmed it. That makes you dangerous to him. Dylan's voice went quiet. He'll come for you, either to silence you or to use you against me. Maybe both. Elena stood again. Her chair scraped against linoleum. So, what am I supposed to do? Hide? Run? Spend my life looking over my shoulder? Or you could let me protect you. Dylan met her eyes. Come to my home. Pose as my private physician while I recover. 2 to 3 weeks. In that time, I'll find your sister, erase her debt, eliminate Vincent as a threat, and make sure Detective Whitmore understands you're under my protection. And what do you want in return? Elena crossed her arms. Because men like you don't do anything for free. Information, Dylan said simply. Everything Vincent said before I lost consciousness. Details about his operation that only you heard. And time. Time to heal without worrying about my safety. Time to plan without Vincent knowing where I am. Elena laughed. Bitter, short. So I trade one dangerous man for another? Maybe. Dylan's eyes never left hers. But I'm a dangerous man who keeps his promises, who pays his debts, who's offering you something Vincent never will. A choice. What kind of choice? When my sister's life is on the line? Dylan pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, held it up so Elena could see. Avery, tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, bruised, terrified, very much alive. This photo was taken 3 hours ago. Dylan lowered the phone. Vincent sent it to me. A message that he can hurt the people I care about. And now that you've saved me, in his mind, you're one of those people. Elena stared at the phone, at her sister, at proof that this was real, that the danger wasn't theoretical, that Vincent Cross was already moving. I need to think. Her voice came out weak, small. You have until morning. Dylan's tone softened slightly. After that, Vincent will move her, hurt her, use her as bait, and there won't be anything either of us can do to stop it. Why? Elena searched his face for the truth. Why are you really doing this? You don't know me, because you risked your life for mine when you had every reason not to. Dylan held her gaze. When you didn't know who I was or what I'm worth. In my world, that means something. That means everything. Marco shifted, drew their attention. Boss, hospital security flagged 2 men asking questions downstairs. About you. About the woman who brought you in. Vincent's people. Dylan's jaw tightened. How long ago? 10 minutes. They left when security approached. But they'll be back. Dylan looked at Elena. Time's up. You walk out that door, you're on your own. Vincent will find you. Maybe tonight. Maybe tomorrow. But he'll find you. And if I stay, if I accept your protection, then you're safe." Dylan extended his hand across the narrow space between them. "You have my word. You'll have your own room, your own choices, your freedom. And in 3 weeks, when this is over, you walk away. Your sister's debt erased. Your safety guaranteed. No strings." Elena looked at his hand, at the tattoo on his wrist, the double-headed eagle, symbol of power, of violence, of everything she'd sworn never to be part of again after escaping Garrett. She thought of her sister, bruised and terrified. She thought of Maya, 12 years old, dead because no one helped. "If you betray me," Elena's voice came out hard, cold, "if you're lying about any of this, I'll kill you myself." Dylan smiled, a real smile this time, almost warm. "I believe you would." Elena took his hand, shook once, firm, professional, then let go. 3 weeks. Then I'm done. 3 weeks, Dylan agreed. "Marco, make arrangements. Full security detail to the estate." Marco nodded, already pulling out his phone, making calls. Elena walked to the door, stopped, without turning around. "The name you said in the car, Lucia. Who is she?" Long silence. Then Dylan's voice, quiet, almost vulnerable. "My daughter. She's 6 years old." Elena looked back over her shoulder. "And Vincent threatened her? More than once." Dylan's eyes were hard now, cold, to control me, to keep me in line. "It worked. Until tonight. Until he tried to kill me and failed." His voice dropped even lower. "Now I don't care what it costs. Vincent doesn't get to threaten my daughter ever again." Elena held his gaze, saw the truth there, the fury, the determination, the absolute certainty that Vincent Cross was a dead man. She nodded once, then walked out into the hallway where her old life ended and a new one, darker and more dangerous than she could imagine, was about to begin. Behind her, through the closing door, she heard Marco's voice. "You sure about this, boss? Trusting her?" And Dylan's response, quiet but certain. "No, but she saved my life when she didn't have to. That's worth more than certainty. That's worth everything." The door clicked shut. Elena stood in the empty hallway, heart pounding, mind racing, wondering if she just made the best decision of her life or signed her own death warrant. Tomorrow would bring answers. Tonight brought only questions, and the certain knowledge that nothing would ever be the same again. Dawn painted Beverly Hills in shades of gold that seemed obscene after the night Elena had survived. She sat in the back of a black SUV, Marco Donovan at the wheel, watching streets transform from urban sprawl to tree-lined wealth. Houses became estates. Privacy became paramount. Money stopped being visible and became assumed. The gates appeared. 12 feet of black iron worked into an ornate pattern. At the center, a double-headed eagle with wings spread wide. The same symbol tattooed on Dylan's wrist. The gates opened silently. They drove through. The estate spread before her like something from a different world. Manicured lawns, gardens that required full-time staff, a fountain where water danced in the morning light, and at the end of the curving driveway, the house, no, mansion, 3 stories of white stone and columns and windows that caught the sun like mirrors. "This is where he lives?" Elena's voice came out quieter than intended. "This is where you'll live." Marco glanced at her in the rearview mirror. For the next 3 weeks, the front door opened before they reached it. A woman appeared, early 60s, silver hair pulled back, warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners. She wore a simple navy dress. Her hands showed years of work, real work, not the manicured perfection of wealth. "You must be Elena." The woman's voice carried traces of Italian accent. She smiled. Genuine warmth. "I am Rosa, Dylan's mother." She pulled Elena into a hug before Elena could react, held her tight, like family, like someone precious. When she stepped back, tears shone in her eyes. "You saved my son." Rosa's hands framed Elena's face, gently. "You pulled him from fire, risked everything. You are family now. Do you understand? Family. I just..." Elena didn't know how to respond to this kindness. "I just did what anyone would do." "No." Rosa's voice was firm. "Most people would have driven past, would have called for help and waited. You didn't. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." She led Elena inside. The entryway alone was bigger than Elena's entire studio apartment. Marble floors, a chandelier that probably cost more than Elena's nursing degree. A staircase that curved upward like something from a movie. "Your room is upstairs." Rosa guided her toward the stairs. "Marco will bring anything you need. Dylan said you came straight from the hospital. Everything I own is in my apartment." Elena followed, feeling wrong in this space. Her sneakers too loud on marble. Her borrowed hospital jacket too shabby against all this elegance. "Marco will send people to pack your things. You'll have everything by tonight." Rosa spoke like having people pack your entire life was normal, natural. They climbed stairs, walked down a hallway lined with paintings that might have been priceless, might have been worthless. Elena couldn't tell the difference, just knew everything here cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime. Rosa stopped at a door, opened it. "This is yours." Elena stepped inside, stopped. The room was enormous. High ceilings, a bed that could sleep four, windows overlooking gardens, and, in the distance, the city spreading toward the ocean. A sitting area, a desk, bookshelves, a door leading to what looked like a private bathroom with marble and mirrors. "I can't." Elena turned to Rosa. "This is too much. I'm just here temporarily. I'm not family. I'm not. You are now." Rosa's voice was gentle, but unshakable. "In this family, we take care of our own. You became ours when you saved my son." She left, closed the door softly. Elena stood in the center of luxury she'd never imagined and felt the weight of it pressing down. This wasn't her world, wasn't her life. She was a nurse who lived in a studio and ate ramen and worked doubles to pay loans that never got smaller. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then did. The message was a photo. Avery, still tied to the chair, still bruised, but alive. Below the photo, 3 words. "TikTok, nurse." Elena's hands shook. She saved the image, deleted the message, walked to the bathroom because her legs needed to move, or she'd scream. The bathroom was all marble and gold fixtures, and a tub big enough to swim in. Elena turned on the shower, made it scalding hot, stripped off her borrowed clothes, and stepped under water that felt like punishment she deserved. She stood there until the water ran cold, until she'd cried out everything she'd been holding since the cliff. Fear, anger, bone-deep exhaustion. Then she dried off, found clothes in the closet that fit perfectly. Simple jeans, a soft sweater. Someone had guessed her size exactly. When she finally left her room, the sun was higher. She followed the smell of coffee downstairs, found a kitchen that belonged in a restaurant. Industrial, professional. Rosa stood at the stove cooking. Dylan sat at a table that could seat 12, laptop open despite his injuries. He looked up when Elena entered, Something shifted in his expression. Relief. Satisfaction. You came down. Your mother is persuasive. Elena stayed in the doorway. And you should be in bed. I'll rest when Vincent is dead. Dylan closed the laptop, gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. We need to talk. Elena sat. Rosa placed coffee in front of her without asking. Perfect. Rich. Dark. Then returned to cooking. I have people looking for Vincent. Dylan spoke quietly. He's gone to ground. But he'll surface. They always do. Until then, you're safe here. 24-hour security. No one gets close without my knowing. And Avery? I'm working on it. Dylan's jaw tightened. Vincent is using her as bait to draw me out, which means he won't hurt her. Not yet, unless he already got what he wanted. Elena couldn't keep the edge from her voice. No. Dylan leaned forward. If he'd gotten what he wanted, I'd be dead. This is about more than killing me. This is about destroying everything I've built. Your sister is leverage. As long as she's alive, he has power. The door burst open. A small whirlwind of energy. Dark pigtails. Star-covered pajamas. 6 years old and utterly fearless. She stopped when she saw Elena. Suddenly shy. Lucia. Dylan's voice changed completely. Softened. Come say good morning. The girl approached slowly. Those same gray eyes as her father. Studying Elena with a child's directness. Papa, is this the lady who helped you? Yes. Kara. Dylan pulled her onto his lap carefully. This is Elena. She's a nurse. She's going to stay with us for a while. Like Mama? Lucia's voice was so small, so hopeful. Dylan's expression cracked for just a moment, then smoothed. Yes, like Mama. Lucia looked at Elena seriously. Are you nice? I try to be. Elena found herself smiling, despite everything. Lucia slid off Dylan's lap, walked to Elena, held out a small hand. I'm Lucia Marie Castellano. I'm 6 years old. I like dinosaurs and painting and my papa. Elena shook her hand solemnly. I'm Elena Hart. I'm 27. I like helping people and coffee. Lucia giggled. Grown-ups always like coffee. Mama liked coffee too. She paused. Will you be here when I get home from school? I'll be here. The promise came out before Elena could think. Good. Lucia smiled, bright and genuine. Then she was gone, running toward another room, calling for Rosa. She likes you, Dylan said. Lucia doesn't trust easily, not since her mother died. How did? Elena started to ask, then stopped. Not her business. Car accident. Dylan's voice went flat. 2 years ago. Vincent had her car sabotaged, made it look like she lost control. The police investigation was led by Detective Garrett Whitmore. He ruled it an accident. Elena's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Garrett investigated your wife's death and closed the case within a week. Dylan met her eyes. No charges, no suspects, just an unfortunate accident. I've suspected for 2 years that he was on Vincent's payroll. Now I'm certain. The gym was in the basement, not the dark basement Dylan had mentioned. A different one. Bright, clean, professional equipment, military grade. The kind of place where serious work happened. Elena stood on the mat at 6 a.m, wearing borrowed workout clothes. Too early, but Dylan had insisted. If she was going to survive in his world, she needed skills. Marco entered first, silent, assessing. 20 years as Dylan's head of security had given him eyes that saw everything, calculated everything. Right now, those eyes measured Elena and found her wanting. Behind Marco came Dylan, moving carefully, ribs still healing. But his eyes were sharp, alert. He wore simple black, no jewelry except a watch that probably cost more than Elena's car. We start slow. Dylan's voice carried authority. Marco will teach you basics. Stand, move, fall without breaking. I'm a nurse. Elena crossed her arms. Not a fighter. You're a survivor, Dylan corrected. Survivors adapt. This is adaptation. Marco stepped onto the mat, gestured. Elena joined him reluctantly. Show me your stance. Elena stood normally, weight even, hands at sides. Wrong. Marco circled her. Everything about that is wrong. You're vulnerable. Open. A child could knock you down. Then teach me. Elena met his cold eyes. Something flickered. Respect, maybe. Marco adjusted her stance. Feet shoulder width, knees bent, weight forward, hands protecting face and chest. Better. Now, someone grabs you from behind. What do you do? Elena thought of Garrett's hands around her throat, panic rising. I don't know. You drop your weight, Marco demonstrated. Most people expect resistance. They're not ready when you collapse. While they adjust, you strike. Elbow to ribs, heel to instep, headbutt if you can reach. He moved behind her, arms around her chest, not tight, demonstrating. Elena's body went rigid, memory flooding. Garrett in the kitchen, Garrett in the bedroom, Garrett everywhere. Breathe. Dylan's voice cut through panic. You're safe. Marco won't hurt you, but you need to understand the position, the mechanics. Breathe and focus. Elena forced air into her lungs. In, out. This wasn't then. This was now. Training. Surviving. Drop your weight. Marco's voice gentler now. Elena let herself go loose. Felt Marco adjust. Felt the vulnerability. She drove her elbow back. Not hard. Just enough. Good. Marco released her. Again. They drilled 20 times, 30, until Elena's body remembered, until it became automatic instead of terrifying. After an hour, she was drenched in sweat, breathing hard, muscles burning, but she'd learned something, had felt herself getting stronger. Dylan called a break, handed her water. You did well. I feel destroyed. Elena drank half the bottle in one pull. That means you're working. Dylan almost smiled. Tomorrow will be worse, but the day after will be easier. And eventually, you'll realize you're not afraid anymore. Did you train like this? Elena asked. After your father died? Every day for 2 years. Dylan's voice went distant. I was 28, soft, educated. My father kept me away from the worst of it, wanted me to have options. But when he died, walking away wasn't possible. So I learned. Marco taught me. Just like he's teaching you. And Isabella? Your wife? She was a nurse. Dylan's expression closed. Like you. She worked at St. Catherine's, actually. 7 years ago. Elena's heart stopped. 7 years ago. When Elena had first started there. I might have known her. You did. Dylan pulled out his phone. Showed her a photo. Isabella Castellano in scrubs. Dark hair. Warm smile. Elena's memory sparked. Recognition. Bella. Elena breathed. Everyone called her Bella. She trained me when I first started, showed me how to stay calm during codes. Dylan's eyes searched hers. She never mentioned you. We lost touch. Elena felt tears threatening. After I got married, Garrett didn't like me having friends. I stopped staying in contact with people. Understanding flickered in Dylan's face. I'm sorry. Don't be. Elena stood, pushed the grief away. She was good. She helped me. Now, I'll help you. Fair trade. The days fell into rhythm. Elena woke at 5:30, training at 6, breakfast with the family at 8. Then her actual job, checking Dylan's injuries, changing bandages, monitoring his healing. Afternoons were hers. She explored the estate, read in the library, tried not to think about Avery. Elena could barely throw a punch. Her wrist bent wrong. Her stance wobbled. Marco corrected her endlessly, patient but firm. By the end of the week, she could run 1 mile in 12 minutes, gasping, having to stop twice. At the shooting range, she hit 2 targets out of 10. Her hands shook at the sound of gunfire, but Lucia asked Elena to read to her every night. And slowly, Elena started to feel less like a prisoner and more like part of something. Dylan adjusted Elena's stance from behind during training, hands on her hips, showing her how to pivot. Both froze at the contact, the intimacy of it. Marco cleared his throat loudly from across the room. The moment broke. Elena's mile time dropped to 9.5 minutes. She completed it without stopping. Her accuracy improved to 5 out of 10. She stopped flinching at gunshots. One night, Dylan found Elena crying in the library. "What's wrong?" "I'm learning violence." Elena looked up at him. "I spent 12 years saving lives. Now I'm learning how to take them." Dylan sat beside her. "Violence isn't evil. Intent is. You're learning to protect yourself, to protect others. There's honor in that." Elena actually pinned Marco during sparring, just for a moment. But Marco nodded approval. First time ever. Lucia clapped from where she watched. "Papa, Elena's getting strong like you." Mile time, 8 minutes. Accuracy, 7 out of 10. Elena could disassemble and reassemble a weapon in 45 seconds. That week, Elena performed field medicine on Marco after a training injury. Dislocated shoulder, she said it quickly, professionally. Dylan watched her work. Afterward, Marco said quietly, "She's good, boss. Keep her." Elena overheard. Something warm bloomed in her chest. Mile time, 7.5 minutes. Accuracy, 9 out of 10. Elena moved with confidence now, her body remembering training, even when her mind wandered. One evening, Dylan needed his bandages changed. Elena worked in silence. Her sleeve rode up, exposing the scars on her wrists. Dylan saw. His jaw clenched so tight she heard it. He didn't ask, but she saw his rage, controlled, directed at Garrett, at the man who'd left those marks. When she finished the bandaging, Dylan took her scarred wrist gently, kissed it. Not romantic, a promise. No one will hurt you again. Elena's breath caught. "I believe you." Week 5 brought a breakthrough. Dylan's people found one of Vincent's safe houses, a nondescript apartment in Koreatown. Vincent had been there recently. They found evidence, documents, a laptop, photos. Elena sat in Dylan's office while Marco went through files, financial records, emails, a map with locations marked, and names. Dozens of names. Avery's name was on the list, with an address, a warehouse. Different from the photo. This one marked with a red X. "What does the X mean?" Elena pointed. Marco looked up grimly. "Usually means completed. Eliminated. When?" Elena's voice was barely a whisper. 3 days ago." Marco pulled up a photo. The warehouse burned, collapsed. Police tape everywhere. Elena couldn't breathe. "Is she?" "No bodies were found." Dylan entered with coffee. Vincent moved her before burning the location. "She's alive." "How do you know?" "Because dead, she's worthless to him." Dylan sat, pulled the laptop closer. "Alive, she's leverage. The moment she dies, that leverage disappears. Unless this was always about hurting you." Elena heard the desperation in her voice. "Unless she was just collateral." Dylan met her eyes. "I know you're afraid, but Vincent has patterns. He's arrogant, methodical, and he's made mistakes. We're close. I can feel it." Elena's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. "Hello?" Breathing. Then a voice. Female. Young. Terrified. "Elena?" "Avery." Elena stood so fast her chair fell. Oh God. Avery, where are you? Are you hurt? I don't. The line crackled. He said to tell you. If Dylan doesn't come alone, if he brings anyone, I'm dead. You understand? Alone. Avery, listen. Elena's medical training kicked in. Calm. Professional. Are you injured? Please. Avery's voice broke. Just do what he says. I can't. I can't do this anymore. Please. The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone. 42 seconds. Not long enough to trace. It's a trap. Marco said what they all knew. I know. Dylan's voice was unnaturally calm. But we don't have a choice. Yes, we do. Elena turned. We don't go. We wait. Find another way. There is no other way. Dylan stood. Your sister told us exactly where the trap is. Now, we spring it. On our terms. Week 5 also brought an invitation. Vincent was hosting a charity gala at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, ostensibly for children's causes. Actually a power play. A message that he was untouchable. Dylan insisted Elena attend. Show Vincent that fear wouldn't control them. That life continued. The afternoon before the gala, an army of people descended on Elena's room. Designer, makeup artist, hairstylist. They worked on her like she was clay to be molded. She sat still and let them, feeling like a doll, a prop. When they finally left, Elena stood before a full-length mirror and didn't recognize herself. The emerald silk dress fit like it had been made for her. Because it had. Her hair fell in soft waves. Her makeup brought out her eyes. For the first time in her life, Elena looked like she belonged in Dylan's world. Rosa appeared in the doorway, tears in her eyes. Bellissima, you look just like... She stopped, smiled sadly. You're beautiful. I feel like a fraud. Elena touched the dress. This isn't me. Perhaps it's who you could be. Rosa stepped closer. If you let yourself. That evening, Elena descended the main staircase. Dylan waited at the bottom in a charcoal suit. When he saw her, he froze, completely still. Marco had to clear his throat, twice. You're... Dylan's voice failed him. You're stunning. It's just a dress. Elena felt her cheeks heat. It's not the dress. Dylan's eyes held hers. It's never been the dress. The Beverly Wilshire ballroom glittered with old money and new crime mixing seamlessly. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, champagne flowing. Elena entered on Dylan's arm and felt every eye turn. Whispers followed them. Vincent approached during cocktail hour. Smooth, charming, designer suit, practiced smile. Dylan, and this must be the famous nurse who saved your life. Elena Hart. She extended her hand, steady, meeting his eyes. The pleasure is mine, I assure you. Vincent's gaze lingered just long enough to make his message clear. He knew exactly who she was, what she'd done, what she meant to Dylan. Later, Elena stood alone at the champagne table, while Dylan spoke with an associate. Garrett appeared, security uniform. The sight of him made her blood freeze. He didn't speak, just grabbed her arm and pulled her into a side hallway, away from witnesses, away from help. Playing dress-up with the mob now, his breath smelled like beer. You think you're better than me? You'll fuck a criminal, but I wasn't good enough? Let go! Elena tried to pull away. His grip tightened. You're mine. His other hand went to her throat. Not squeezing, just resting there. A threat. That paper doesn't change what you are, who you belong to. Take your hand off her. Dylan's voice was arctic. Final warning. Garrett turned, saw Dylan flanked by Marco and 3 other men in black. All armed, all ready. He released Elena, slowly, trying to save face. This is between me and my ex-wife. Garrett's voice was too loud. Domestic issue. She's under my protection. Dylan stepped close, inches from Garrett. Touch her again, and you disappear. I don't care about your badge. I don't care about your union. You touch her again, and they'll never find your body. Standoff. 30 seconds that felt like hours. Finally, Garrett backed down, walked away, but his eyes promised Elena, this isn't over. Dylan led Elena to the rooftop, away from the crowd. The city spread below them, millions of lights like fallen stars. Elena was shaking. Adrenaline crash. Every time I see him, I'm back there, helpless, scared, hating myself for being scared. Dylan draped his jacket over her shoulders. You're not helpless anymore. You pinned Marco in sparring yesterday. You let me. A weak smile. I didn't. Dylan was serious. You're stronger than you know. They stood in silence. Finally, Elena asked, why are you really protecting me? Dylan looked out over the city. Because when I woke up in that burning car, you were the first thing I saw. You didn't know who I was, didn't care about money or power. You just saw someone who needed help. No one's looked at me like that since Isabella died. Like what? Like I'm human, not a monster, not a means to an end, just human. Dylan's phone buzzed. Text from Marco. Image of the old factory where Vincent wanted to meet. Tomorrow night. Alone. It's a trap. Elena stated the obvious. Of course it is. Dylan's smile was cold. That's why we're going to turn it around on him. They spent the rest of the night planning. Dylan, Marco, Elena, 4 of Dylan's most trusted men. They had the factory layout, knew Vincent's patterns, his resources, his weaknesses. Dylan's strategy was simple. Make Vincent think he'd won. Let him believe Dylan came alone, but have Marco's team positioned, hidden, ready to move. And the FBI as backup. Final resort if everything went wrong. Elena insisted on coming. I'm a trauma nurse. If anyone's hurt, if Avery's injured, you'll need me. Absolutely not. Dylan and Marco said it together. Yes. Elena stood firm. Vincent expects you desperate. Bringing me makes you look desperate. Vulnerable. Exactly what he wants to see. I'm camouflage. Dylan studied her, calculating. Finally nodded. You stay in the vehicle. Hidden. You don't come out unless I signal. If shooting starts, you drive away. I understand. Elena lied smoothly, because she had no intention of staying in any vehicle if people needed help. That afternoon, Lucia asked Elena to read to her. They sat in Lucia's room, surrounded by drawings and stuffed animals and photos of Isabella. Halfway through the story, Lucia interrupted. Elena, are you going to leave? Like Mama did? Elena's heart cracked. She didn't know how to answer, how to explain that she was temporary, that in a week, maybe 2, this would all end. I don't know, sweetheart. Elena settled for honesty. But I promise, whatever happens, I won't disappear without saying goodbye. Okay. Lucia snuggled closer. I like you. You're nice. Like Mama. Your mama must have been very special. She was. Lucia's eyes grew heavy. Papa says she saved people. That's why Vincent killed her. Because she tried to save too many people and he got scared. Elena finished the story, waited until Lucia slept, then sat in the quiet room thinking about Isabella, a nurse like Elena, who'd tried to do the right thing, who'd paid for it with her life. Was that Elena's future? Trying to save everyone until someone decided she was a liability? She found Dylan in his office, working late. He looked up when she entered, smiled tiredly. She's asleep? Yes. Elena sat across from his desk. Dylan, tell me about Isabella. Really tell me. Not the facts. The person. He was quiet so long, Elena thought he wouldn't answer. Then, she was good. Genuinely good. Saw the best in everyone. Even me. Especially me. She believed I could be better than my father. Better than the family business. She pushed me toward legitimate operations. Toward building something that didn't require violence. You loved her. I did. Dylan's voice roughened. Still do. Always will. She was the only person who ever made me want to be better. He stopped, but Elena understood the unspoken words. Until you. I'm not her, Elena said quietly. I'm not some saint. I'm just trying to survive. I know. Dylan met her eyes. But you make me want to try anyway. Want to be someone Lucia can be proud of. Someone worthy of the life you saved. Elena's throat tightened. Tomorrow, she said, we get Avery back. We end Vincent. And then we figure out what comes next. Dylan's hand covered hers. Warm, steady. Tomorrow. The factory loomed against the night sky like a monument to urban decay. 5 stories of broken windows and rust-streaked metal. Graffiti covered the lower levels, the kind of place where terrible things happened, and no one was surprised. Dylan parked 3 blocks away, cut the engine, looked at Elena in the passenger seat. Last chance. Not a chance. Elena checked her medical bag. Supplies. Bandages. Everything she'd need. I'm seeing this through. Marco's voice crackled through the radio. In position. 3 teams. North, south, west. You've got clear path east. FBI? Dylan asked. 2 blocks out, waiting for your signal. Marco paused. Remember, get him talking. On record. Then we move. Understood. Dylan checked his weapon, slid it into his jacket, looked at Elena. You stay behind me. Don't engage. Your job is to get Avery out if things go wrong. Elena nodded. Her fingers found the pepper spray Marco had given her, hidden in her pocket, just in case. They approached on foot, Dylan 3 steps ahead, Elena following. The east entrance was a loading dock. Door hanging crooked, darkness beyond. They entered. Inside smelled like rust, an old fear. Water dripped somewhere. Their footsteps echoed. Every shadow looked like a threat. Light ahead, weak, flickering. They moved toward it, into a vast open space. Factory floor, equipment long gone, empty except for one thing. A chair in the center, Avery tied to it. Head down, not moving. Elena started forward. Dylan's arm blocked her. Wait. Vincent stepped from the shadows, smiling. 4 armed men with him, all watching, all ready. Dylan. Vincent's voice was almost friendly. You came. I wasn't sure you'd value her life that highly. Let her go. Dylan's voice was flat. She's not part of this. Oh, but she is. Vincent circled slowly. Predator energy. The moment her sister saved you, she became part of this. Everything is connected, Dylan. You taught me that. You were my father's man. Dylan didn't move, didn't show fear. Why betray me? Because I earned the right to lead. Vincent's voice rose, anger breaking through. I worked beside your father for 15 years. Bled for him. Killed for him. And when he died, who did he choose? His soft son. His educated son. The one who wanted to go legitimate. Like we were something to be ashamed of. So you stole. Murdered my wife. Tried to kill me. All because you felt entitled. I am entitled. Vincent pulled a gun, aimed at Dylan's chest. And tonight, I take what should have been mine. Dylan smiled. Cold. You really think I came alone? I know you didn't. Vincent gestured. His men moved, surrounding them. I know Marco's outside. I know the FBI is waiting. I know everything because I still have people loyal to me. Inside your organization. Inside the police. Everywhere. Then you know this is over. Is it? Vincent walked to Avery, pressed the gun to her head. She whimpered. Because I'm thinking. I kill her. Kill you. Kill your pretty nurse. And walk away before your backup arrives. Except you won't. Dylan's voice carried certainty. You're not a killer, Vincent. Not really. You're a thief. A coward who hides behind other people's violence. Vincent's face flushed. You think you know me? I know exactly what you're capable of. Dylan stepped forward, ignoring guns. You've never pulled a trigger yourself. Don't have the stomach for it. Then let me prove you wrong. Vincent's finger tightened. Elena moved. Fast. Medical instinct. She lunged. Not at Vincent. At Avery. Knocked the chair sideways. Covered her sister with her own body. The gun went off. Thunder in the enclosed space. Elena felt heat. Pain. Her shoulder. But she didn't let go of Avery. Then, chaos. Marco's teams breached from 3 directions. FBI floodlights lit the space like day. Vincent's men scattered. Some shooting, some surrendering, some running. Vincent bolted for the back exit. Dylan chased. This was personal, beyond business. 20 years of betrayal. 2 years since Isabella's murder. This ended tonight. Elena struggled upright. Her shoulder burned. Blood soaked her jacket. But Avery was untouched, conscious, crying, alive. You came. Avery's voice broke. I didn't think. I thought you'd let me die. Never. Elena managed a smile despite pain. Medical assessment automatic. Gunshot wound. Through and through. Missed bone. Missed artery. Painful, but survivable. Now, let's get you out of here. Marco appeared. Assessed the situation in one glance. You're hit. I'm fine. Elena was already moving. Get Avery to the ambulance. I need to find Dylan. He can handle himself. After. Elena pulled away. Grabbed her medical bag with her good arm. After I make sure he's alive. She stumbled through the factory, following sounds of fighting. Found them on the 2nd floor. Dylan and Vincent. No guns now. Just fists and fury. Both bleeding. Both exhausted. Both refusing to quit. Vincent swung. Connected with Dylan's jaw. Dylan staggered. Vincent pressed forward. Drove Dylan back toward a broken window. 5-story drop to concrete. Elena didn't think. She grabbed a metal pipe from the floor. Swung hard. Connected with Vincent's knee. He screamed. Fell. Dylan caught his balance. Looked at Elena. Blood on his face. Fire in his eyes. I told you to stay in the car. When have I ever listened? Elena dropped the pipe. Pressed her bleeding shoulder. Vincent tried to stand. Failed. His knee shattered. He looked up at Dylan. At Elena. At FBI agents approaching. And laughed. Bitter. Defeated. You won. But what did you win? Your wife is still dead. Your empire is still built on blood. Dylan crouched beside him. Maybe. But I'm a monster who keeps promises. Who protects family. What are you? Vincent had no answer. FBI took him. Read him rights. Led him toward a future in a cell. Dylan turned to Elena. Your shoulder. It's fine. Elena was getting dizzy. Blood loss. Just need to. Dylan caught her as her legs gave out. Called for medics. Held her while the world spun. Avery. Elena managed. Is she? Safe. Marco's got her. Dylan's hand pressed her wound. Applying pressure. She's safe because of you. We saved her. Elena's vision grayed. Both of us. Medics arrived. Professional. Efficient. Took over. Started a vui. Asked questions. Elena answered automatically. But before the medics could load Elena into the ambulance, commotion erupted near the warehouse entrance. Garrett Whitmore burst through FBI lines. Still in uniform. Gun drawn. face twisted with rage. He'd fled during the initial chaos, hid while Marco's teams secured Vincent's men. Now he was back, desperate, cornered, dangerous. He grabbed the nearest person, a young FBI agent, used her as a shield, gun to her head. "Everyone freeze!" Garrett's voice cracked. "I walk out of here or she dies." FBI agents froze, weapons trained but unable to shoot. Too risky. Dylan started forward. Marco grabbed his arm. "Boss, you're injured." "I don't care." Dylan shook him off. "This ends tonight." Garrett's wild eyes found Elena. This is your fault. All of it. You ruined everything." Elena stood, swaying, blood still seeping from her shoulder, but steady. "I didn't ruin anything, Garrett. You did. 4 years of abuse, corruption, murder, lies." Garrett screamed. "You're lying, like you always lie." "Am I?" Elena took a step forward. Medics tried to stop her. She shook them off. "Did I lie about the broken wrist? The concussion? The night you strangled me until I passed out?" Garrett's gun wavered. "You made me do those things. You drove me to it." "No." Elena's voice was steel. "You chose violence. Every single time. You chose to hurt me, to terrorize me, to make me believe I deserved it." Another step forward. FBI agents watched, tense, ready. "And then," Elena continued, "then you killed my sister. Maya was 12 years old. You gave those gang members weapons. Vincent paid you to create violence, to drive down property values. And my baby sister died for your real estate scheme." Avery appeared from the ambulance, supported by Marco, face bruised but eyes clear. "It's true," her voice rang out. "I saw him 10 years ago. I was 14. I saw him give them guns. I was too scared to tell anyone, too scared of what he'd do." Garrett's face went white, then red. That's not." "It is." Dylan spoke now. "We have evidence. Financial records. Witness testimony. You're done, Whitmore." Garrett's gun swung wildly. Between Elena, Dylan, the FBI agent he held. "If I'm going down, He aimed at Elena, finger on the trigger. Elena didn't move, didn't run, just looked at him. At the man who'd destroyed 4 years of her life, who'd killed her sister, who'd nearly broken her. "Do it," she said quietly. "But it won't change anything. You'll still be a corrupt cop, a murderer, a coward who hurt women because you couldn't handle your own weakness." Garrett's hand shook. The gun wobbled. "You wanted me to fear you." Elena took another step. "To believe I was nothing without you. But I survived you, Garrett. I escaped. I built a new life. And you're the one who has nothing now." The gun lowered, just slightly. Garrett's eyes filled with tears, rage, grief, realization. "I loved you," he whispered. "I gave you everything. You gave me hell." Elena's voice didn't waver. "And I'm done living in it." She walked forward, directly toward him, ignoring the gun, ignoring FBI agents shouting at her to stop. She walked until she was close enough to touch the barrel. "Shoot me," she said. "Or let her go. Choose." For 5 seconds that felt like eternity, nothing moved. Then Garrett's hand dropped. The gun fell to the ground. The FBI agent scrambled away, and Garrett Whitmore collapsed to his knees, sobbing. FBI agents swarmed, cuffed him, read him rights, led him away. Elena turned, found Dylan watching her, something like awe in his eyes. "You walked toward a loaded gun." His voice was rough. "I walked away from fear." Elena swayed. Dylan caught her. "And I'm never going back." This time, when the medics loaded her into the ambulance, she didn't resist. Dylan climbed in beside her, held her hand, as they pulled away from the warehouse, from Vincent, from Garrett, from everything that had tried to destroy them, toward whatever came next. Morning sun painted Maya's garden in gold. The sign above the door caught the light. Below it, free clinic and community center. Elena stood across the street with coffee, watching people arrive, families, individuals, everyone welcome. No one turned away. 2 years since that night in the warehouse. 2 years since she'd been shot, saving her sister. 2 years since everything changed. The clinic had opened 6 months ago, funded by the Castellano Foundation, Dylan's legitimate charity. He'd wanted to name it after Elena. She'd refused. This was Maya's legacy. Her sister, who died because no one stopped, no one helped. Dr. Elena Hart. The title still felt new. She'd finished medical school. Dylan had paid, despite her protests, called it an investment. She'd let him because arguing with Dylan was exhausting, and because accepting help wasn't weakness. Avery appeared in the doorway, waving. 2 years clean. Graduate school. Social work degree. She volunteered here 3 days a week, counseling people who'd struggled like she had, turning pain into purpose. Elena crossed the street, entered her clinic. The waiting room was full. It always was. Staff moved efficiently. Her staff, people she'd hired, trained, built into a team. Rosa ran the community kitchen, feeding anyone who needed it. She'd aged in 2 years, more silver in her hair, deeper lines, but her warmth remained. She hugged Elena like she did every morning, like family, because they were family, chosen family. Marco headed security, still protective, but softer. He'd started dating one of the nurses, Maria, a fierce woman who made him laugh, something Elena had thought impossible. Dylan arrived at noon, 3-piece suit, expensive, but his eyes were different, lighter. The empire was mostly legitimate now. Real estate, restaurants, legal businesses. The transition had cost time, money, relationships. But he'd done it. For Lucia, for himself, for the future. He found Elena in her office, reviewing files, knocked despite the open door. She smiled. "Come in." He entered, closed the door, pulled her up and into his arms, kissed her like he did every day, like she mattered, like she was his whole world. "Lucia is excited about tonight," Dylan murmured against her hair. Tonight, the wedding, small, intimate, just family in the estate gardens. Rosa had cried when they told her. Finally, another daughter. "I'm nervous," Elena admitted. "Me too." Dylan pulled back, looked at her. "Terrified you'll realize what you're getting into. Who I am. What I've done." Elena touched his face. The scars. The jaw that could be granite, but softened for Lucia's laugh. "I know exactly who you are, and I choose you anyway. Even knowing I'll never be perfect, especially knowing that." Elena kissed him, because perfect is boring. A knock interrupted. Lucia burst in, 8 years old now, energy and joy. Her pink dress for tonight swirled as she spun. "Elena, the flowers are ready, and the cake. Everything's perfect." "It already is." Elena caught her, held tight. "Because you're here." Lucia pulled back, serious. "Are you really going to be my mama? Really, really?" Elena's throat tightened. "If you want me to be." "I do." Lucia nodded firmly. "I've wanted it forever. Since you read me the rabbit story. Remember? I remember." Elena blinked back tears. "And I'm staying. Forever." Lucia hugged her again, then ran off, calling for Rosa, for Marco, for everyone. Dylan watched his daughter go, then looked at Elena. "You're amazing with her. I love her." Elena meant it. She'd worked her way into Elena's heart. Both of them had. The rest of the day blurred. Patience, paperwork, preparations. Evening came. Elena went to the estate, to her room that had stopped being temporary and become home. She dressed in simple white, nothing elaborate, just a dress that made her feel beautiful. Rosa helped with hair and makeup, cried happy tears, whispered prayers in Italian about family and love and blessings. The ceremony was in the garden at sunset. Chairs in rows, 50 people, staff from the clinic, Marco's team, Dylan's business associates, the ones who'd accepted his transformation. Avery stood as maid of honor, healthy, whole, alive, because Elena had refused to abandon her. They'd grown close in 2 years. Sisters rebuilding what addiction and fear had nearly destroyed. Marco stood as best man, uncomfortable in a tuxedo, but present, loyal. Lucia walked down the aisle first, flower girl, scattering petals, smiling so wide it had to hurt. When she reached the altar, she turned, watched Elena approach with Rosa. Because Rosa was giving her away. This woman who'd welcomed a stranger, who'd called her family before she'd earned it. That was Rosa, pure acceptance. Dylan waited at the altar, gray suit, no tie. His eyes tracked Elena with intensity that should frighten. Instead, it felt like home. The officiant spoke traditional words. Elena barely heard, too focused on Dylan's hands holding hers, on Lucia standing beside them, small hand reaching out to touch Elena's dress, making sure she was real. The vows were simple, written together over coffee and honesty. Dylan spoke first. "I promise to protect you, not by controlling you, but by standing beside you, by being someone you can rely on, by choosing every day to be better than yesterday. I promise to love Avery as family, to honor Maya's memory, to build a life where violence is the last resort." He paused. "I promise to deserve you, even knowing I never fully will." Elena's turn, voice shaking but carrying. "I promise to see you, not who you were, not who people think you are, but who you're trying to become. I promise to challenge you, to push you toward light even when darkness is easier. I promise to love Lucia as my own, to honor Isabella's memory, to build a life where healing matters more than hurting." She met his eyes. "I promise to stay, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." The rings were silver, engraved from ashes, a reminder of where they'd started, how far they'd come, what they'd built from destruction. The officiant pronounced them married. Dylan kissed her, not gentle, not tentative, but certain, claiming, promising. A kiss that said this was real, forever, worth every risk. The reception was dinner under string lights, music, laughter, Lucia dancing with Marco, Rosa crying again, Avery's speech about second chances that left everyone in tears, Dylan's hand never leaving Elena's. Later, after guests left, after Lucia slept, after Rosa's final hug, Elena and Dylan stood in the garden alone, looking at city lights spreading below. "Do you ever regret it?" Dylan asked. "That night, stopping for me? Every day." Elena leaned into him. He tensed. She smiled. "I regret all the years before, the years I didn't know you existed. But stopping, saving you, that's when my real life began. From ashes." Dylan's arms tightened. "We rise," Elena finished. Together. In the distance, Garrett Whitmore sat in federal prison, convicted, 25 to life. No parole. He would die there. Old, and forgotten. Vincent Cross sat in different prison. Maximum security. The empire he'd wanted had crumbled. Justice. Finally. And here, in this garden, Elena Hart Castellano stood with her husband and felt something she'd never expected. Safe, loved, home. Not because someone saved her, but because she'd saved herself, had made choices, had taken risks, had decided survival wasn't enough. Living required courage. A cry from inside. Lucia. Nightmare. Elena started toward the house. Dylan followed. They climbed stairs together, entered the child's room. Lucia sat up, scared. Bad dream, she whispered. Elena gathered her close. You're safe. We're here. Promise? Promise. Dylan sat on the other side. The three of them together. Family. Lucia settled, fell back asleep. Elena looked at Dylan over their daughter's head, found him watching her with wonder. Thank you, he mouthed. For what? For saving all of us. Elena smiled, shook her head. We saved each other. They stayed until Lucia's breathing evened, until they were certain, then returned to their own room, their own bed, the life they'd built. Dylan pulled Elena close, kissed her temple, cheek, lips. I love you. I love you too. Elena's truth. Always. Outside, night deepened. Tomorrow would bring challenges, new patients, new problems. But tonight, in this moment, in these arms, Elena was exactly where she belonged. Not running, not hiding, not just surviving, living. For the first time, free. Not because someone freed her, but because she'd chosen freedom, had fought for it, had earned it with blood and courage. The nurse who'd saved a monster and discovered he was just a man trying to be better. The monster who'd been saved by an angel and learned angels came with scars and strength. Together, they'd built something neither could build alone. Family, home, future. From ashes, they'd risen, not perfect, not untouched by darkness, but alive, together, free. And that, Elena thought as sleep claimed her, that was worth everything. Worth the risk, worth the fear, worth diving off a cliff into flames. This life, this love, this family, this home, from ashes into light, and the light was enough.